When did you realize your sibling was actually evil? When my brother called me, he said, "Look what you've done," then sent me a picture of our father's lifeless body on the kitchen floor. It all started 2 years before when Dad got diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's at 62. My older brother David immediately looked at me and said, "You can quit that fancy nursing job and take care of him." I looked at him in complete disbelief. "David, I just got promoted to head nurse at the Children's Hospital. I'm 24. I can't put my job on hold now." David said, "So what? Dad raised us. Now it's time to give back. Besides, you're a nurse, so you're already qualified." When I refused, he called our entire extended family and tattled on me. Mom called me every single day about family duty, even though she and Dad had been divorced for years. "You can always find another job, but he won't be with you much longer," she'd cry. When I pointed out that David made 6 figures and could easily afford professional care while I was barely making ends meet with my job, she'd say, "Money can't buy the love of a daughter." The family group chat became absolute chaos, with everyone telling me I was tearing us all apart. David started sending me articles about how daughters are natural caregivers. When I told him I could get Dad into a fantastic care facility if he was willing to help me afford it, he'd say, "Dad deserves family, not strangers." He announced to everyone that I was going to be Dad's full-time caregiver. When I tried to correct people, David would privately message them saying I was going through a selfish phase. He started having medical equipment delivered to my apartment. Adult diapers, hospital bed, wheelchair, all addressed to me as the primary caregiver. I'd had enough. I told the family I was keeping my job and we needed professional care. Then one day my supervisor called me into her office. She told me how sad she was to hear that I was no longer interested in the head nurse position. I was baffled and asked her what she was talking about, and she said she'd gotten an email last night from me saying I was no longer available because I was stepping back to care for my dad. Obviously I knew David had sent the email. That night I sent one last message in the family group chat making it very clear that I was not going to be quitting my job to care for Dad, and then I blocked everyone. A week later, I got legal documents about a guardianship hearing to establish me as Dad's legal guardian and primary caregiver. I called David, and he proudly told me he'd filed paperwork citing my medical training. He said once I was the legal guardian, I'd have no choice but to quit and care for Dad full-time. Lucky for me, I was recording the call. When the court date came, the judge heard the recording and threw out the petition, telling David that guardianship couldn't be forced on unwilling family members. I thought it was finally over. I went 2 weeks without hearing from my family after the court case. Then early one morning, David called me. "Look what you've done. I hope you're happy," he said with zero emotion. Then he sent me a photo of Dad lying motionless on the kitchen floor, medication bottles scattered everywhere. I screamed, demanding to know what had happened, thinking maybe Dad got confused about his medication. But no, the night before, David had gone to Dad's house drunk. He'd been spiraling since the court case, angry that he now had to pay for professional care himself. The man who spent more on his car than most people make in a year was furious he might actually have to spend his own money on Dad's care. So he convinced Dad to take his medicine early, handing him pills and telling him they were vitamins, until Dad took the whole bottle of sleeping medication. "I hope you're happy that you killed your own father," David slurred. "You forced me to put him out of his misery so he wouldn't have to rot in some nursing home. This is what happens when you choose your precious job over family." I hung up and immediately called 911, then the police. I didn't hear from my family again. They all cut contact with me after David was arrested. He was found guilty of elder abuse and involuntary manslaughter and got 15 years, but my family never reached out again. I'm in therapy now, trying to process that my brother murdered our father and convinced our entire family it was my fault for refusing to quit my job and sacrifice my career.